I am Kamalam Idathil, PhD Research Scholar of Research Department of Commerce, Marthoma College, and Associate Professor of Commerce in EMEA College of Arts and Science, Kondoti. I feel immense pleasure to be with you all in this national webinar series, Diffusion 2020 on Research Methodology, organized by our department. The program opens up different opportunities to research scholars to learn so many things in relation to thesis outlining and academic writing. As a PhD scholar, I feel that the seminar series would help me improve my ability to conduct my research successfully. It is the need of the hour, no doubt. The department has made us available erudite scholars in commerce and veteran personalities in the field of research. Previously, we had very useful sessions by Dr. Johnny Johnson and Dr. P.N. Harikumar. Today, we have another session by Dr. S. Jayadev, Assistant Professor of Commerce in PG Department of Commerce and Research Center, Mahatma Gandhi College, Thiruvananthapuram. Jayadev sir is a well-known scholar in the field of finance and banking, security analysis and portfolio, HRM, income tax and management, in which he has been specializing for years. Moreover, he is consultant for SPSS data analysis. He has teaching experience more than 20 years. He is a blessed research guide. There are 13 PhD scholars who successfully conducted their research under his able supervision and awarded doctorate degrees in the Faculty of Commerce and Faculty of Management. 2 of them are foreign students. 3 of his wards have submitted their thesis. Currently, he guides 5 research scholars. Knowledge and experience do not usually meet in any, but we have such a personality who is hard-earned knowledge and seasoned experience in the field of commerce and management. Today, we are also blessed to have Dr. Jomon, Associate Professor and Head, PM Government College, Chalakudi, to chair the session. He is also a famous and solid scholar in our field. We are happy to know that he is presently the principal in charge of PM Government College. He decorates the covetous position of the Deputy Director of Collegiate Thrissur. He is the Chairman, UG Board of Studies of BCom. He is 24 years experienced in his profession as a college professor. Very confidently, I can say that we are going to witness very useful and wonderful session today. My duty is to welcome you all to today's webinar. I extend my hearty welcome to the chair, Honorable Dr. Jomon. A warm welcome, sir.
Thank you.
I am very pleased to welcome Dr. Jayadev, today's resource person. Welcome, sir. I also extend my warm welcome to Dr. Reina Thomas, Principal, Marthoma College, and Dr. Rajiv Thomas, HOD, PG Department of Commerce and Research Center, and participants also. Welcome you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, hi, a very warm good afternoon to one and all. Respected dignitaries on the dais and esteemed organizers, faculty members and scholars. I take this opportunity to congratulate the IQAC and Research Department of Commerce of the Marthoma College, Chugatara, especially my good friend and non-research guide Dr. Rajiv Thomas and his scholar Bijuma, for having organized a well-planned and well-lit webinar on research methodology. The webinar brochure, topics identified, resources selected, and the way it has been organized heralds the vision of the organizers in creating an online research clinic with a plethora of eminent dedicated researchers. It is observed that the webinar is not intended merely to share bookish knowledge, but sharing of practical insights and experiences that proven researchers gained in life across large number of researchers. Research methodology is the only topic which always keeps listeners unsatisfied, even when the same topic is contemplated a number of times in life. Each time we hear, there will be some new arguments and tips to take to heart. Due to its varied applications across disciplines, it has become one of the most discussed and debated topics among academic community across the globe. But still young and green, quite often researchers come across utter dilemma as to what all tools are to be used to make the study effective and to the point. Sometimes researchers find it difficult to identify appropriate tools that fit our requirement and needs. It is important to note that most of the statistical tools do not have universal applicability. Each has its own scope, admissibility, and limitations. One of the irony that we find in practical research topics, this is that, like in the case of medical science, scholars do wanted and unwanted tests for test's sake, and in most cases, he himself do not know what it is and what for it has been done. Many use tools as ornaments to decorate their studies, but in the midst of decorations, in most of the times, they lose the basic thread and focus of the study. The success of a researcher lies in identifying appropriate tools that befit the kind of work and study undertaken. Each researcher should know and take to heart what is the study all about, what are the population characteristics, what are its objectives, what are the kind of hypotheses set. Your study will stand out when there is a perfect match of tools with the requirement of the study under set conditions. Unless tools match appropriately, it will not yield desired results for sure. Analysis and interpretation of the test statistic is also very important to make the study meaningful. The researcher should know for sure the scope, applicability, use, and interpretation of the test statistic. We must also learn to make judgments based on test statistics. Unless carefully adjudged, we may land up with unfortunate conclusions that never expected of it. It is in this context that a session of this kind becomes very important and imperative. It is a fortunate opportunity that we got a large number of luminaries in the galaxy of research and extension on a single platform called Diffusion 2020 of online discussion and deliberations. I understand that it is a comprehensive package for all researchers and scholars casing A to Z of research issues that all research scholars face. I'm not venturing to discuss on the tools and spoil your time, as you are going to have a very exalted session on the topic by our eminent resource, Dr. S. Jaydev. Make use of the opportunity, consult and discuss your dilemma with the functional experts and get clarified yourself. By the time you go out of this webinar, go with crystal clear vision and mission on research. And I wish good luck and best wishes. And once again, thanking all the organization and resources and participants And I conclude my presidential address. Thank you. Thank you.
Now I invite Jayadev sir for the presentation.
Okay, sir. Shall I start the presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can start, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, sir. First of all, let me express my deepfelt thanks to the management, principal, Rajiv sir, Gopalkrishna sir, Kamala madam, and the speaker who delivered nice words about this seminar, and all the participants that Marthoma College of Chungatara is being carried out a seminar series, webinar series, Diffusion 2020, and I also got a chance to present my ideas to the eminent audience. Today, my earnest effort is to give an insight about what are the tools which are available in statistical package called SPSS, Statistical Package for Social Science. See, one of the major problem confronted with the researchers is that they have the data. They know how to do it also. But at least some of them are of the feeling that what exactly tool has to be incorporated so that they can have the right answer, which I think the previous speaker, the principals are expressed very deliberately itself. Therefore, to come across this particular situation, Rajesh sir asked me to give an insight about some of the tools which are popularly available in the SPSS. Therefore, I have agreed with him that I will give it some examples, will introduce the data so that they can have an idea about what are the exact statistical techniques which can be suited to pursue their research need. You know, before the commencement, at least we should know exactly the scaling, because scale is the basic for which all the activities has to be carried out in the research work. We start from the scaling itself. Scaling is nothing more to measure the data. See, without a proper measurement, we can't go for the and collect the exact data for our requirement. In that situation, let us first of all have a quick look at the different types of scaling techniques. Generally, in the research, data is mainly divided into two: quantitative data and qualitative data. You know what is quantitative data and you know what is qualitative data. No need for further explanation. If it is quantitative data, we can go for a test called the parametric test. If it is qualitative data, that means that data on our feelings, expression, taste, habit, etc. Isn't it? If it is qualitative data, you can go for the non-parametric test. But the thing is that whether you have collected quantitative data or qualitative data, there must be a proper scaling. Here we have to look at what are the different scaling techniques. Here it is. See, data according to the variable, data as I said earlier, classified into qualitative variable and quantitative variable. Is it clear for you? Now, in the qualitative variable, you can classify it into scaling into nominal scale and ordinal scale. Under the nominal scale, we have examples are gender, religion, color, occupation, etc. See, this is the most fundamental. Nominal scale is the most fundamental scale that a researcher has to incorporate their research work, because it is also called a grouping scale, based on which all our interpretation or our ideas have to be formulated by the researcher, isn't it? Your gender is a good scaling techniques in the under the nominal scale. Similarly, religion, Hindu, Christian, Muslim, or color, or occupation is in so many. In the case of banking, we have public sector bank, private sector bank, new generation bank. It is the basic, isn't it? Therefore, we have to incorporate as much as possible nominal scale. That means grouping scale in our, or these are called categorical variable. Once you have incorporated all these things, which comes under the nominal scale, which we can give the options, isn't it? Next, ordinal scale. See, almost all variable pertinent to ranking based questions are come under the, or are coming under the category of ordinal scale. For example, once if somebody wants to examine what are the real problems of disinvestment by the public sector undertaking in India, for which if the researcher himself has formulated certain options and ask the respondent to give their opinion according to their preference level, based on a ranking, where first rank will be for the highest preference and the last rank will be the lowest preference. In such a case, if the researcher has formulated such questions, which comes under the category of ordinal scale, isn't it? It is one of the qualitative data you can include in the qualitative variable, and non-parametric test can be applied for this type of data. Next is interval scale. Truly speaking, it is really included in some controversies. See, actually it is measured from an arbitrary zero. See, in certain cases, we often expand our idea in an intellectual way. For example, by giving the appropriate weight. Here it is, I have given an example. For a particular aspect, I have given a weight. This is a weight or a score for the highest option is called excellent. For the option very good, I have given the option 4. For the option good, I have given the option 3, and for 2 it is average and 1 for poor. In certain cases, some experts are of the opinion that it is the part of ordinal scale. But in normal cases, in most of the researchers like to include this type of data, that means Likert scale type question. These are called Likert scale type questions, are included under the category of interval. See, here I have given a weight. Please note the point. It is the weight 1 for the option poor, which means that a researcher can give a weight from 0.1 to 1 for the option poor. That is why I have included this type of questions into the interval scale. That means from 0.1 to up to 1, you can give a score for the option poor. Similarly, for the option average, you can give 1.1 to up to 2. For the good option, you can give 2.1 to 3, and good 3.1 to 4, and finally excellent, it becomes 4.1 to 4.2, 4.3, 4. Any value you can assign, isn't it? You can assign to the option excellent. Anyhow, if you have formulated or your objectives like that, you can include your Likert scale under the category of interval scale. See, this explanation is not 100% correct. There is a differences of opinion among the researchers and social scientists. But if you had included this type of Likert scale questions in the interval scale, you can do some parametric tests. That is why I have included this particular Likert scale questions as interval scale. There is a, still I am saying, there is a contradictory opinions pertinent to the Likert scale, whether to include in the qualitative variable or the quantitative variable. See, if you have included your Likert scale questions in such a way that your lowest value starts from 0.1 and reaches up to a maximum weight, that here it is 5, in such a way it is a numerical value, isn't it? In that way you can include your data under the category of interval scale. Finally, the ratio scale. What is ratio scale? As explained, ratio scale is a measure from a natural zero. That means measured from the zero itself. That means your height, your monthly consumption, your income, your age, actual value we are going to measure. Then it is called a ratio scale. In one point, these are the broad classification: nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale, and ratio scale. See, in SPSS software, I think a majority might be having the SPSS software. You might have noticed it also. Only 3 categories of scale. They are nominal scale, ordinal scale, and scale itself. There is no further classification for a ratio scale or interval scale. It is here, it is only nominal scale, ordinal scale, and finally the scale itself. That means by merging interval scale and the ratio scale into one. That is why I also insist my Likert scale questions under the category of quantitative variable. This is the objective behind the concept. Once you have familiar with the scaling techniques and the kind of data which falls under these heads, now we can directly move for how to analyze, not to how to identify our data and use appropriate statistical techniques. Is it clear for you? See, in order to identify the data, we can start from the simple concept itself. See, I have given all my examples based on the commerce, management, or economics, or social science angle, and these are the live examples which you can easily be identified based on the concept itself. See, all the explanations are simply round based on this particular idea itself. Is it, as I said earlier, parametric test is also there for the quantitative data, and for the qualitative data there is a non-parametric test. In practice, for almost all parametric tests, there will be an opposite non-parametric test also. Therefore, in that case, your result or your idea or your conclusion didn't vary. Is it clear for you? Almost all parametric tests, there is a corresponding non-parametric test is also there. Parametrics for the quantitative data, non-parametric for the qualitative data. Therefore, now if you want to do a t-test, that means one sample t-test, instead, if you have applied a non-parametric test, that is KS test, Kolmogorov-Smirnov test, it is called the KS test, your result will be equal or no change at all. See, the ultimate aim of the statistical test is what our earlier professor said, which was very correct, to give an insight about what is our data. What does our data simply refers to? That is the only thing about the statistical analysis, isn't it? Here I have explained. See, one more. Here I am going to explain one sample t-test. That means one sample, it is equivalent. It is a t-test is a parametric test, and one sample sign test or KS test. There are two similar tests. One sample sign test is also sufficient, or KS test is also sufficient for the non-parametric test. If you do the same test for the same data as which I have explained here, you will get the same conclusion, no difference at all. Therefore, you write an article based on a one sample t-test. Then you write another article with the help of a case test. We will get to the same result. Is it no issue at all? That means your our objective is enrichment of knowledge will take place. That is the only idea that I want to give. And it is only to introduce what are the various tools and techniques available in the SPSS. See, one of the most important concept and the convenient for the SPSS is that every data or every analysis parts are fully loaded with a particular head called analysis. Those who have software, you can simply click the option analysis. You can see all the analysis serially numbered, parametric test and non-parametric. By simply select a particular test, you can apply your data, you will get to the result. No issue at all. But the thing is that if you have this type of data, we must know which test we have to apply. That is the most important part concerned to any software at all. The learning of a particular software is not an issue now, because there are so many good and quality videos are there, so many good professors are there. Therefore, you can study, or so many colleges or institutions are organizing workshops are there. There is no issue at all. But the thing is, if you have the data, how to apply the data in a right tool or a right statistical test to have a in-depth knowledge about the very first character of the data is of high importance. This is the basic idea which I want to give. Anyhow, this is the situation, isn't it? What is the situation? A marketing manager wants to know if the average monthly sales of certain executives are same as the monthly target of the company. Isn't it? Marketing manager has fixed that 250,000 or 250 unit as the monthly target, isn't it? And there are 5 or 10 or 20, 30. This is not at all important, isn't it? In this case, this is not important. See, this is the target achieved by the first executive, 239. 248 is the second target. 250 in terms of 1,000. I ignore that part. 253 and 42. Our question is whether that, see, and the targets of different executives are almost similar or different also. Our objective is to whether those actual targets achieved by the individual executives differ the target of the company. Therefore, in this case, we have selected only 5 executives, isn't it? Therefore, the corresponding the sales can be treated as the sample, and the target fixed by the company, here it is 250, shall be treated as the population mean. Is it clear for you? This is the idea. Our objective is to compare the sample data. Sample data is 239, 248, 256, 253, 242. Is to compare with the target of the company, which is called population mean, because this month it will be 250. The next month it's also, it may be 250. The coming month also it may be 250, or the previous month of this month will be also 250. Is it? Therefore, there is no change for the figure of 250. But the actual sales for every month by the executives may vary. In that way, it is better to carry out the test called one sample t-test. Simply go to the SPSS, take the analysis part. You will see there is an option called one sample t-test. Simply transfer the actual sales into the amount column. You will get, and post the population mean 250. You will get the actual result. Our result will say whether the actual sales of the executives are differ from the target of the company. That is the logic we can have from this idea. Truly speaking, for me, this is one of the most important techniques you can apply in our day-to-day life experience also. See, I will give an example also. See, from the data Yahoo Finance, I have the share prices for the last 20 days or 30 days or 2 months, etc. I can have the share prices, based on which I will fix a price. For example, 350 for the share price of Infosys. My question is whether I can purchase the one Infosys share for rupees 350 based on the previous prices. Is it clear? Whether it is overpriced or whether it is underpriced, whether it is good price for me. In that situations, I can easily go for the one sample t-test. This is practically very high important. Once you have learned this type of data, we can go for the next test, which is called the independent sample t-test. This is otherwise called independent sample t-test is the parametric test. In the correspondingly, for the non-parametric test, we have two sample sign test. At the same times, we have Wilcoxon Mann-Whitney test or U test also. See, if you apply independent sample t-test or two sample sign test or Wilcoxon Mann-Whitney test, otherwise called U test, you will get to the same result itself. Therefore, no issue at all. You will get to the same result or same conclusion. No issue at all. You know, see, our objective is to go a particular place. You can use your own vehicle. You can use a hired vehicle. You can use a two-wheeler. You can use a four-wheeler. You can use a public carrier, isn't it? Our objective is to reach the place on time. That is the only thing. Similarly, if your data lies that, you can apply independent sample t-test. And if you think that your data is in a qualitative form, you can go for two sample sign test or Wilcoxon Mann-Whitney test or U test. Anyhow, the result will be the same. Therefore, in the parametric test, we use independent sample t-test, and then the non-parametric side, if you use two sample sign test or a U test, the result will be the same. Therefore, no differences in the inferences also. In what context? Now let us discuss in what context independent sample t-test can be applied by the researcher. See, under a manager, he is in charge for two regions, region 1 and region 2. And you know, region 1, there are n number of executives. That is why region, these are the 11111 means executives of region 1, and the corresponding figure is the actual sales achieved by the executive. Also region 2, under region 2 there are n number of executives also, and all the sales achieved by the executives in region 2 are also listed. Our objective is whether the actual sales of the executives between two regions, what are the region? Region 1 and the region 2 is the same or differs each other. See, this is the problem for the researcher. Is it clear for you? Here it is very important. Our grouping variable is, that is the most important part. The grouping variable or the categorical variable is divided into two, namely region 1. See, in region 1 there may be 10 executives. Then we have to simply give 1 up to 10 observation. Correspondingly, the actual target of sales achieved by them. In region 2 there may be 15 executives. Then you simply list out region 2 means region 2, and the correspondingly the actual sales target achieved by the executives. Now, what is our objective? Our objective is to whether the actual sales achieved by the executives between two regions remains the same. This is the question. A marketing manager wants to know if the average monthly sales of certain executives belong to two regions are same. Isn't it? See, if you are in your research, if the research problems is pertinent to like that, you can simply go for independent sample t-test. Is it clear for you? And in your research paper, instead of doing the t-test, if you do Wilcox and Mann-Whitney test or U-test or two sample sign test, you will get the same result and the same conclusion. There is no change in conclusion. What we expect from the researcher is that he should not differ from the conclusion. That is the integral part of any research. If you apply this test, you will get the concrete result. Is it clear for you? Here you must note that the categorical variable here is, or otherwise called the grouping variable. Here is the region, and we classified the region into two. Is it clear for you? Next, dependent sample t-test. It forms part of parametric test, and the corresponding, the matching non-parametric test is Wilcoxon matched pairs test. Dear friends, if you do dependent sample t-test or Wilcoxon matched pairs test, you will get the same result. Therefore, there is no confusion regarding the test result. But we should know at what context we have to apply dependent sample t-test. That is the only thing we have to know. With the example, we can try to learn at what context we can apply for the dependent sample t-test. See, from the explanation itself, it is very clear that a marketing manager wants to compare if the average monthly sales of certain executives are the same before and after recession. Is it clear? See, this is the right time we have to ask this type of questions. Is it clear for you? At least before COVID and after COVID. See, for the under my guidance, 10 or 15 executives may be working, And before the COVID, I have listed out the actual sales achieved by them. Isn't it? Or during the COVID time, I also have the data of the sales achieved by that particular executives in a serially order. That is very important with reference to this type of test. Never change the order of the sample respondent. That is the integral part of, if you include Mr. Arun as the third person before the sales or during the sales achieved by him before the COVID, then during the COVID or after the COVID, you have to include the data of Mr. Arun as the third person. This is the only criteria that the researcher has to be given great attention when you pursue dependent sample t-test. Is it clear for you? Therefore, in this case, our sample members never differ. They remain the same. Generally, it is you can include a small number of samples. That means here it is before recession. In our example, it is very clear that before recession, these are the sales achieved by our executive 242, 236, 259 and 240. Once the recession has been over, again the manager incorporated the exact sales of those executives, and we have the figures now. Now we want to know whether the recession has any influence on the sales achieved by the executive, or even after recession, during the recession is same, subject to the interest of the researcher or the objective. There is no demarcation that we have to collect data only after recession, not at all. During the recession, before recession and during the recession, you can take. Also, if you want during the recession or after the recession, you can take. But the thing is that only two classification is required. Is it? That is the only thing. And the sample members remains the same. Never change the order of the sample member. Here you can see it is also very vital with reference to the influence and identify the influence of training on the employees, etc. The same techniques you can apply. And truly speaking, practically, this type of test is of immensely useful for the researcher, irrespective of the faculties, whether they are pursuing their research in management or commerce or economics or other branches of social science or science or applied science. This type of tests are immensely useful. Anyhow, our discussion is that if your data is of this character, that means sample member if never changes, and we want to examine the influence of a particular criteria, we want to examine the influence of a particular criteria, we can go for the dependent sample t-test under the parametric test, and in the non-parametric test, you can go for the Wilcoxon masked Bayes test. Next is analysis of variance. See, most popular and classical test, almost known to almost all people itself. In our examination purpose also, we often do the Anova test, isn't it? And here we have included the example for the one-way Anova, which falls in the category of parametric test. At the same time, you can have the similar result and similar conclusion if you do Kruskal-Wallis test, otherwise called H test, under the non-parametric category. See, if I do one-way ANOVA, I will get to the same conclusion. And at the same time, if I do H test or Kruskal-Wallis test, which falls in the non-parametric test, I can have the same result. So we can prepare different articles based on the different analysis itself. There is no compulsory that that particular activity must be carried on this particular note at all. The thing is that statistical test has the relevance for the conclusion. Whether we are deriving our conclusion in a right sense, that is the only thing. You know, data has the power. See, I want to evaluate the average sales. That is the only thing, mean or median or mode. The best way is the mean itself. It is a standard form if it is a quantitative data. But the thing is, whether the mean differs or not among a group, you can apply for Anova test or H test. The thing is that we will get to the same conclusion. See, at what context we can do one-way ANOVA. This is very important. See, first of all, we can have the situation, isn't it? A marketing manager wants to know if the average monthly sales of certain executives belong to 3 regions are same. This is the, see, what is the difference between independent sample t-test and one-way ANOVA? Under independent sample t-test, we classified our region into 2, region 1 and region 2. In region 2, there are n number of executives, and region 2, here also there are n number of executives. For pursuing one-way ANOVA, there must be 2 or more, that is the theoretical explanation, there must be 2 or more grouping variables, isn't it? Of course, you can use one-way ANOVA with the 2 groups. That means if you do independent sample t-test in 2 groups, namely region 1 and the region 2, by doing the one-way ANOVA itself, you will get to the same result. But normally or generally, we prefer independent sample t-test because that independent sample t-test in fact has designed to suit the grouping variable of maximum 2 variable. Is it clear for it? And one-way ANOVA, you can apply more than 3 or 2 or more than 2. That is the best explanation. See, anyhow, our explanation will be here there are 3 regions. Region 1, region 2 and region 3. See, under region 1, there may be n number of executives. Etra veri venamengile agam. Oru restriction, there is no restriction at all. See, in our example, I have included only 3. That is not an issue at all. You can have any number of executives. The thing is that if you select a particular executive from a particular region 1, you have to simply note there is no need for maintaining the order for the ANOVA test. But the thing is that if you have selected a particular executive, you should give the appropriate code, whether he belongs to region 1 or region 2 or region 3. That is the only thing. The order has no meaning at all. For my convenience, I have listed in an orderly way, but in practical sense, there is no sense or meaning for ordering of this region. You can include first the sales target of one executive or region 1. Next, you can include the sales target achieved by the executive in region 2, then region 3 or region 1 or region 3 or region 1, 2, etc., etc. Anyhow, once you have included your data in such a way, you can go for one-way ANOVA. Here, our grouping variable is, or categorical variable is, the region. That is very, very important. And our dependent variable is the actual sales. Here it is expressed in 1000. And our grouping variable is only one, which is the region is the only one grouping variable. And under the head region, we have classified region into 3 categories: region 1, region 2, and region 3. And in each region, there may be n number of executives. That is the only thing we have to note under the analysis of variance. Is it clear for you? Next, once we have learned one-way ANOVA, you can also do two-way ANOVA. Two-way ANOVA generally often says that univariate general linear model. At what context we explain the univariate general linear model? By doing the univariate general linear model, if we get the precision or the accuracy through a regression score, we can classify or consider it as univariate general linear model, otherwise called two-way ANOVA. See, now let us think at what context we have to apply the two-way ANOVA. That is the issue. First, in order to, before coming to the two-way ANOVA, we have to know at what context we have to do one-way ANOVA. See, and under the one-way ANOVA, as I said earlier, our dependent variable is only one, no change at all. But our categorical variable is one, which is region. Is it clear? And the region is further classified into region 1, region 2, region 3. Therefore, our categorical variable is only one, and our dependent variable is only one. We can do for the one-way ANOVA. And see, here it is. Our categorical variable is 2. What are they? Code of region. That means region is one categorical variable. And the another categorical variable is status of executive. Now let us read the question and try to understand what it is. See, a marketing manager wants to know if the average monthly sales of certain MBA. See, therefore, the status of executive is classified into MBA qualified executive and non-MBA cadre executive. Is it clear for you? Therefore, if I am doing the present job with the qualification of MBA, I will be included the code 1. That's all. If I am an executive without having an MBA qualification, my code for the education qualification will be 2. That's all. Is it clear for you? And belong the 3 region. And here also, the region is classified into 3. What are they? Region 1, region 2, and the region 3. See, in region correspondingly, we have qualified executives of MBA or non-MBA executives. And here it is very clearly that shows that region 1. When I select a particular executive, I know which region he belongs. I put the code 1. I will ask, sir, did you pass MBA? If he says yes, we will put the value 1. This has no meaning. This is the numerical value. This has no meaning. Just to identify whether the executive is qualified with the MBA or non-MBA. That's all. And this has no meaning at all. Simply, correspondingly, we will write the actual sales from the official. Is it? Similarly, from the question itself, region 1, another executive with the MBA qualified, region 1, MBA qualified, region 2, non-MBA qualified, region 2, non-MBA qualified, region 2, non-MBA qualified, region 3, MBA qualified, region 3, non-MBA qualified, region 3, non-MBA qualified executives, and the correspondingly we have the target actually achieved by the executives. Here, by looking this data set itself, we know the fact that there is only one dependent variable and 2 categorical variable or grouping variable. In that cases, instead of doing one-way ANOVA, by doing two-way ANOVA, you can have many results. What are they? You can examine whether there is differences in the sales achieved by the executives based on region. See, by doing a single test, you can have 3 results. Also, you can have the result of whether there is differences in sales achieved by the executives based on the educational qualification. Moreover, you can also get the interaction effect of region with the status of executives on the actual sales achieved by the executives. See, by doing a single test, you can have 3 most important information. This is the effect of two-way ANOVA. Just to recall the idea that if you want to do a two-way ANOVA, the thing is there must be 2 grouping variables and only 1 dependent variable. That points you have to note in your mind itself. Is it clear for you? What makes the difference between one-way ANOVA and two-way ANOVA? Under one-way ANOVA, dependent variable is same, but the grouping variable remains the same. But the two-way ANOVA, our grouping variable must be 2. That is the whole. Here it is the region, and another grouping variable is status of the executive. Is it clear for you? Next, three-way ANOVA. See, here one point I have omitted. See here, no explanation for the non-parametric test, which means the scope of non-parametric test has been over with reference to the two-way ANOVA onwards. Therefore, better we can concentrate on the parametric test, isn't it? That is why most of the students or the researcher or research supervisor like me, I am a research supervisor, and generally I insist my students to pursue the research analysis with the support of the parametric test, because compared to the non-parametric, the scope for parametric test is more. That is why I insist my scholars to pursue, if it is possible, to do analysis with the support of the parametric test. Next is three-way ANOVA. See, we learned one-way ANOVA, we learned two-way ANOVA, otherwise called univariate general linear model. Here it is three-way ANOVA also. But the one point is that in order to carry out three-way ANOVA or four-way ANOVA, five-way ANOVA, any type you can do, subject to the capacity of your software, isn't it? I didn't try the four-way ANOVA, I have tried a three-way ANOVA many times. In order to carry out the three-way ANOVA, your sample size will be correspondingly very high. Otherwise, you won't get adequate representation of the data for each corresponding categorical variable. This is the limitation pertinent to the three-way ANOVA. Is it clear for it? If the sample size is very low, and if we are going to apply our ambition is to apply a three-way ANOVA, and unfortunately we didn't collect much data. Of course, you can do a three-way ANOVA. Your system will support, no issue at all. You will get the result also. But once you read the result, you will feel that some columns may be unfilled or empty. Is it clear for you? What is the reason? Because there is inadequate representing figure or representing data for each categorical variable or grouping variable. Therefore, dear friends, three-way ANOVA is the best analysis to examine the statistical differences of a single dependent variable based on three categorical or three grouping variable. Gentlemen and dear friends or ladies, here it is a marketing manager wants to know if the average monthly sales of certain MBA and non-MBA, which we have explained the previous slide, executives belong to three regions of different gender are the same. Is it clear for what we have included in this particular type of question as simply the gender? Our code of regions remains the same. Status of executives remains the same. We also included one more column. Is it clear for it? It is the gender. Generally, we can classify gender into male and female. See, in the region, what does it mean? From the region 1, one executive is selected who is a male and having the MBA qualification who achieved the sales target of 239. That is the meaning. Is it clear for it? What is the second column? From the region 1 itself, I have selected an MBA qualified female executive. That is the simply meaning of this particular table. Is it clear? Who achieved a target of 248. What does it the last row says? From the region 3, I have selected a male executive. Is it clear for you? Who is a non-MBA cadre who achieved a monthly target of 249. That is the mean. Excited. Our objective is whether the sales target achieved by the sample executives for region-wise classification. That is the very important. What conclusion we can have from the three-way ANOVA? The conclusion is that whether the sales target achieved by the executives from the region or gender-wise or status of executives or the interaction effect of region with the gender or region with the status of executives or gender with the executives or region, gender and the status of executives are the same or different each other. This is the, see how many results we can have from the three-way ANOVA. See, by doing a single three-way ANOVA, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 conclusions. Is it clear for you? That is the power of further analysis. By doing a single test itself, you can have the beautiful result of 7 important conclusions. Whether the sales of the executives is similar based on region or based on gender or based on education and qualification or interaction effect of region with the gender, region with the status of executive, gender with the status of executive, and interaction of finally the interaction effect of region, gender, and the status of executives. Therefore, it is a good test for the researchers who eager to write the research articles in quality journals or those who pursue MPhil or PhD program for the research. And you just simply formulate your questionnaire by including the scope of the grouping variable or the categorical variable. If you and the thing is that our grouping variable is the real base. Based on all the grouping variables are based on the nominal scale. And the thing is that if you include more grouping and a relevant grouping variable, the better will be the result. Therefore, before collecting the data, at least you consult with your research supervisor or your friends whether my grouping variables or the categorical variable based on the nominal scale is enough or sufficient to give all the result based on the very important aspect of the research. This is the most important thing. See, I explained earlier, instead of 3-way Anova, there are 4-way or 5-way, but your sample size must be very large. You can do in the software also. I didn't do any type of 4-way Anova, therefore I excluded that aspects from the style itself. You can experience yourself if you are interested. Okay, next is Manoa. What does it mean? Manoa means multivariate general linear model. It is called Manoa. What makes the difference between Manoa and 2-way Anova? See, now simply recall our idea. In 2-way Anova, we have two grouping variables. What are the grouping variables which we have considered? The status of the employee and the region, and only one dependent variable. If you have only one dependent variable and two categorical variable, you can do 2-way Anova. Here, what makes the difference? The categorical variables are two. What are they? Code of the regions and the status of the executive. But you see, our dependent variable is 2. Therefore, now let us have the conclusion that if you have that, it is only the data set is only 2 categorical variable and 2 dependent variable. That doesn't mean that you can do Manova only with the 2 categorical variable and 2 dependent variable. Not at all. The explanation says like this: if you have more than one categorical variables and more than one dependent variable, the categorical variable may be any number. Similarly, your dependent variable may also any number. But the thing is that if you increase the size of categorical variable and the size of, that means number of dependent variable. Here it is 2 dependent variable. What are they? Salary and actual size. What are the categorical variable? Region and status of the executive. You have the right to include more number of categorical variable. For example, region, status, or gender, or the locality, etc. These are the categorical variable. Similarly, here it is included that sales, salary, isn't it, or the commission, or the bonus, etc., etc. All these are the quantitative data, hence forming part of the dependent variable. the table which you are going to interpret will be correspondingly very large, maybe 5 or 6 or 7 pages itself. Truly speaking, it is a hectic task for the researcher to include more than 4 or 5 dependent variable, 5 or 6 dependent variable and 3 or 4 categorical variable at a time to explain the Manoa test. See, software has no issue at all. Never it break. But the thing is that you will get an research output which may be very high. Sometimes if you have produced an article, you are single. Generally, good publishers insist us to limit our size of the pages into 7 or 8. If you do or pursue Manoa with the multiple categorical variable and a multiple dependent variable, the data, the output itself 5 or 6 or 7 pages itself. Therefore, we should take a judicious decision as to what are the most essential dependent variables that has to be included, and also what are the most essential categorical variables that has to be included. In our example, we have included only 2 categorical variable and 2 dependent variable. At what context the test can be applied? See, a marketing manager wants to know if the average monthly sales and salary received by certain MBA code 1 and non-MBA code 2 executives belong to 3 regions are same. See, at a time, we have to know the salary and the sales of executives based on the region and the status of executives. It means the same or not. Therefore, at what context we apply Manoa test? We often apply Manoa test when there are multiple categorical variable and multiple dependent variable. See, if you have multiple categorical variable and only one dependent variable, please students, never go for Manoa. It is not appropriate. If you do Manoa test, you will get to the result, no issue at all, but it is not appropriate. In that case, you can go for, if it is 2 categorical variable, you can go for 2-way Anova. If it is 3 categorical variable and only 1 dependent variable, you can for 3-way Anova. And if you have multiple categorical variable and multiple dependent variable, then only you are supposed to do Manoa test. At what context if your data set falls like this, you can simply go for the Manoa. That is the only the idea. Next is Anova test. It is practically very useful test applicable for the researcher, especially those who are pursuing their research in medical science, or this is otherwise it is an experimental science. Here, somewhere it requires certain time also. Often those who pursue medical science or biology or pure science perform the Anova test. In our case, generally the role of Anova is rare, but of course you can include the same. See, the example simply says the classical scope for doing the Anova test. What does our example says? A marketing manager wants to know if the average monthly sales of MBA code 1, that is experimental way. This is what code of employee 11111 it is called experimental variable, and non-MBA, which is called control group. Here, our sample member has to be classified into two, namely experimental group and control group. Under experimental group, we give some input or special input or special care, and under the control group, we give the current status of the situation. Well, now let us see what is the current status. See, here for the MBA cadre, we have given a refresher course. Isn't it? We have given a full-time refresher training for the MBA category executives. We have provided a full-time refresher program for 1 week, and for the non-MBA cadre, we also gave them refresher course, but it is based on the part-time. That is the only difference, isn't it? We have provided them the part-time refresher facility, and for the MBA scholars, we have MBA qualified executives, we have provided them the full-time refresher course. That is the only thing. Therefore, what is our objective? Our objective is to examine whether there is any manipulation of sales achieved by the manipulation means change in sales. That is the only meaning. There is any change in sales achieved by the executives based on their educational qualification in accordance with the influence of refresher program based on full-time and part-time. Here, as I said earlier, I have selected MBA qualified executives as the experimental group to whom I have provided full-time refresher course, and also for the non-MBA executives, I have provided part-time refresher program. See, before going to the refresher this part is very important. Otherwise, this test has no relevance at all. Therefore, please try to listen this part. Before giving the refresher program, I have to examine the current level of performance by the MBA qualified executives and the non-MBA qualified executives. That is why I have included the column before sales, which means before undergoing refresher program. With the available data, I have incorporated a table, that is sales achieved by these executives before undergoing the refresher program. And once I have classified the data based on the one grouping variable means MBA qualified and non-MBA qualified, I have to test under independent sample t-test. Under independent sample t-test, if the result is not significant, that is the most important part. If the result is not significant, you are supposed to go for uncovered test by through the application of refresher program and the sales after the refresher program. I am not interested in explaining the not significant and significant part. I strongly believe that yesterday Professor Hariumar sir, who is from our university, has elaborately explained all these things. Therefore, no need for explaining what do you mean by significant or not significant. Therefore, I am avoiding that explanation. And the thing is that if you get a non-significant result based on the independent sample test, by classifying our sample respondent into MBA qualified and non-MBA qualified, then only you are supposed to go for Anova test. Unfortunately, if the result says that it is significant, means there is a difference, you are not supposed to continue with the Anova. Therefore, at least certain executives, they will try to manipulate at this stage. Actually, there will be differences in sales achieved by the executives based on their education qualification in the current scenario. As I said earlier, if there is any difference, the scope of Anova is nothing. Therefore, this point has to be noted very carefully. If the data says that it is not significant, then we can apply a full-time refresher program for the MBA qualified executives and a part-time refresher program to the non-MBA qualified executives. Once they have completed the refresher courses and they are allowed to go and try to achieve the target. When they achieve the target, again we have the data set like that, so that we can take the uncovered. It is one of the most beautiful and powerful test you can apply, and the result would also very beautiful also. It is very important thing that it takes much time when compared to other tests, because as it is, as I said, it is an experimental based study. You should be little bit cautious with reference to the incorporation of the Anova test. Is it clear for you? Next is correlation test. Simple correlation means relationship between variable, isn't it? That is the correlation. If it is relation between, if you are going to examine the relation between two variables, this is simple correlation. And if you at a time, if you want to make the correlation of more than two variables, it is called a bivariate correlation. Here it is profit, salary, variable cost, sales are the simple variable. And if you want to examine the relationship between profit and salary, between profit and variable cost, between profit and sales, between salary and variable cost, between salary and sales, between variable cost and sales, you can go for and apply the bivariate correlation analysis. That is the correlation, you know everything. Similarly, there is one more correlation which is called the partial correlation. There is one more correlation which is called the, actually I will wind up 10 minutes more. I will try to wind up the session. Partial correlation. See, under the partial correlation, of course, the variables are multiple, like in the previous slide. But here we will control the influence of one variable. Is it clear? Here it is we control the influence of salary. By controlling the influence of salary, to what extent profit is related with the variable cost and sales, and what extent variable cost related with the sales, which we are going to explain. It is called the partial correlation, isn't it? Why we used to control salary? See, if I offer more salary to an employee, a general feeling is that the employee will do much more enthusiasm, do their task with much more enthusiasm. Is clear for it? Or if you consider the age, see the energy level of a person having 25 years may or may not be the same of a person having 50 years of old. Therefore, obviously, if it is same, no issue at us. If it is different, we have to control the influence of the age when we want to examine the relationship. Is it clear for? Therefore, if you have multiple variables to know the relationship, and if you feel that a particular variable has to be controlled, that means whose effect has to be nullified among the variable, it is better to go for the partial correlation. Next, multiple regression, isn't it? So before coming to multiple regression, regression is a very vast area. At least 2 or 3 days itself is required to complete the session. There are so many specialized teachers which are available in Kerala itself who will handle this particular session itself. I got some opportunity to attend their beautiful classes itself. Anyhow, in the layman point of view, we can simple regression. That means influence of independent variable on another variable which is called dependent variable. It is called regression. Is it influence of one independent variable, that means influencing variable or manipulating variable on the another variable which is called dependent variable, is called the simple regression. Then what is multiple regression? If you are at a time going to explain the influence of more than one variables on a single dependent variable, it is called multiple regression. Is it clear for you? Now, what does it mean? Multiple regression means influence of more than one independent variable on a single dependent variable. It is called multiple regression. See, in our question, what does it say? A marketing manager wants to predict the percentage of variance of performance, isn't it? Through the influence of size and total salary paid to employees of different rates. See, these are the performance and organization, isn't it? These are the rate of profit achieved by the organization. The salary paid to the employees 295,000 and the number of employees is 22. Isn't so that particular organization rate of return is 13.58. The next organization 15.25. Therefore, our independent variables are salary, total salary paid, total number of employees worked. Isn't it? Whether the total salary paid and the total number of employees influence the rate of investment or return on investment or the profit percentage, then we can go for the multiple regression. Truly speaking, before carrying out multiple regression, we have to examine at least 10 basic tests. If your data satisfy at least 10 basic tests, you are supposed to do all these activities, isn't it? But in practice, it is not possible for a general article. We can generally go for with your data on the assumption that your data will automatically satisfy all the essential conditions. Is it clear for you? Anyhow, if you have the data like this, more than one independent variable and more than one dependent variable, you can do multiple regression. Is it clear for? With the help of the all the independent variable, you can first of all establish the relationship with the single dependent variable. Then you proceed with the another dependent variable with the same independent variable. Then proceed the relationship of the same set of independent variable with another dependent variable like that. Next, logistic regression. It is also another most important aspect. See, in the multiple regression, all the variables are quantitatively expressed, isn't it? All the variable, whether it is independent or the dependent variable, the entire data is quantitatively explained. But in logistic regression, our independent variables are expressed in terms of quantitative data, and here it is an error, I will explain, and our dependent variable has to be explained in 1 or 0. Here I have explained it as 2, that has to be cancelled. Sorry for the error. No, you have to give the value of 0 as the charity. Is it clear for it? Therefore, a marketing manager wants to predict the percentage of variance of charity. Charity കൊടുക്കുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ, അതാണല്ലോ നമുക്ക് താല്പര്യം, ചാരിറ്റി കൊടുക്കാൻ താല്പര്യം ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ യെസ്. ഇനി കൊടുക്കുന്നില്ല എന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ സോറി 2 എന്നല്ല സ്കോർ കൊടുക്കേണ്ടത്. You should not give the value 2. Instead, you have to give the value 0, because we all prefer to give the charity. Therefore, you simply apply the score 1. See, sir, is it necessary? Not at all necessary. If the groups are not preferring to give charity, then yes for 0, no for 1. But the thing is that the code should be 0 and 1. Never 1 and 2. It is an error. Therefore, 1 stands for if you are giving the charity, and 0 must be for those persons who are not giving the charity. Once you have deliberately explained your data set in such a way, you can easily explain and carry out the logistic regression. See, what is the real headache for carrying out logistic regression? Truly, my dear friends, see, I am explaining to those researchers who are budding, not for other faculties who are all well versed with all these ideas. Those who are budding researchers, you simply explain all these things. Is it clear for it? Once you have formulated your data in such a way, now it is very easy to perform the logistic regression, because within 1 or 2 seconds or fraction of minutes, you can have the output itself. Because in SPSS, there is no formidable task for getting the output. But the thing is that we should know what test has to be performed. Is it clear for? Therefore, once you have formulated the data in this way, you will get to the logistic regression. Next, factor analysis. See, at what, see, you know, this is, it is a Likert scale question, isn't it, which we have in the interval scale, isn't it? We have explained that if it is very high, we will put the weight of 5. If it is high, we will put the weight of 4. No opinion, or moderate. If it is 3, poor, 2, very poor, 1, isn't it? See, a marketing manager wants to predict the credibility of celebrities of a car in public opinion, so that the right celebrity could be chosen for endorsing product. See, these are the general components required for the celebrities to become a model for our car, isn't it? Out of these components or option, exactly what we expect from the celebrity, which we have to know. See, all these are very large, isn't it? Out of this, if you want to reduce the components into 2 or 3, And if you explain those 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 components, it is very easy to understand the exact phenomena or the quality required for the celebrities, isn't it? For which, that means reduction analysis is called factor analysis. Data reduction analysis is called factor analysis, isn't it? See, attractive, here it is attractive, classy, beautiful, elegant, sexy, dependable, honest, reliable, trustful. See, these are the general expectations of the people. That if a particular celebrity, Mohanlal or Mammootty or Rajinikanth, appears for some selected ladies, appearing for a particular model for a car, then these are the general expectations of the public, out of which if you reduce the entire components into a meaningful explanation, then it is very easy for the manager or the entrepreneur to identify a suitable model who is having those precise qualities, and the qualities may be 3 or 4 classifications, not the entire. Here the list is very large. In such a case, you can go and apply the factor analysis. See, the Kaiser test, the most powerful test is called the Kaiser test, and you know the Kaiser test is the one of the most powerful non-parametric test. It is the most powerful non-parametric test. It is about to examine the influence of 2 attributes. It is to examine the influence of 2 attributes. The attribute may be your educational qualifications with your academic brilliance, your educational qualifications with the job you are employing, isn't it? Your religion with your nature of work, etc. In such a way, if you want to examine the association between 2 attributes which are purely qualitatively explained, you can apply and go for the Kaiser test. And truly speaking, the application of Kaiser test is of immensely useful for the research purposes. In this explanation, let me conclude my session. Thank you for your nice support.